When Sri Lanka's president, Anura Kumara Dissanayake, went to Jaffna recently, social media just lit up. The pictures looked amazing, all about unity and hope. But if you look just a little bit closer at the online chatter, you'll find a way more complicated story. So let's dig into this charm offensive and the two very, very different faces of public opinion it brought out.
This one sentence right here from the source analysis really hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the tension. Because on the one hand, you've got this huge visible wave of support, but right underneath that, there's this deep undercurrent of skepticism, frustration, and even some real anger. It's a wild paradox.
Okay, so first up, let's just look at what everybody saw on the surface, that overwhelmingly positive vibe that was flooding social media feeds.
Now you've got to understand the context here, because it's so important. The president chose to celebrate Thai Pongal, a huge Tamil cultural and harvest festival right in the heart of the North. This was a massive symbolic gesture. It was meant to signal, hey, we're turning a new page, a fresh start for the whole country.
And man, that initial reaction was just incredible. People were throwing around phrases like one country, one nation, and even calling him the father of Sri Lanka. They were loving his simplicity, the fact that he wasn't surrounded by this giant security detail like you always see. It really did feel like this moment of genuine hope that maybe here's a leader who can finally move past all the ethnic divisions.
But that's just the surface. As soon as we start to peel back that first layer, we see that all that warmth, it wasn't unconditional. The welcome came with some pretty clear expectations. This quote gets right to the heart of the skepticism. It points to this deep-seated fear in the Tamil community that all this big talk about unity is just a convenient way to sweep their real, long-standing political demands right under the rug. I mean, they've seen symbolic gestures before, right? And look, we're not talking about abstract ideas here. These are specific, concrete things they want to see action on. Things like releasing political prisoners, giving back land that's been occupied by the military, stopping the construction of Buddhist temples in mostly Tamil areas, what some call Buddhization, and actually delivering on old promises of power share.
And one issue, just one, has become the ultimate litmus test of the president's sincerity, the Tisavihara. It's a Buddhist temple that was built on what locals are adamant is private Tamil land. For a lot of people, how the government handles this single dispute is going to prove whether all this goodwill is for real or not.
Now let's peel back another layer. And this one is completely different. Because while the president was getting this cautious welcome up in the north, his actions were sparking a serious backlash among some Sinhala Buddhist nationalists down in the south.
The main accusation you see coming from this group is appeasement. They see him reaching out to the Tamil community, and they don't see it as reconciliation. No, they see it as him betraying his own Sinhala Buddhist pace.
Wow. This comment from online pretty much sums up all that anger. A complaint you saw over and over was that the president was basically invisible during the Sinhala and Tamil New Year back in April, but then he shows up for this huge celebration of Thai Pongal. It feeds this powerful narrative that he's neglecting his own culture.
And this slide just perfectly shows how incredibly divided everyone is. I mean, it is night and day. On one side, he's a true leader, a comrade. On the other, he's being called Kotia, which is a slur referencing the Tamil tigers, or an actor, a coward, even haraka, which basically means a fool, an ox. The contrast is just stunning.
A lot of this cynicism came out as just pure mockery. People were calling his visit a film, a performance staged just to get votes. And it's wild how even something as simple as a laughing emoji can get weaponized online to show sarcasm and just dismiss the whole effort as a fake PR stunt.
But here's the thing. This discontent, it wasn't just about ethnic politics. Not at all. As we dig deeper, we find this whole other layer of frustration that honestly cuts across all communities in Sri Lanka. We're talking about the everyday bread and butter issues that hit everybody. People are mad about education reforms that are just stuck, a growing drug problem that the government doesn't seem to be getting a handle on, the absolutely crushing cost of living, and this feeling that big-shot corruption cases are just being swept under the rug.
And this, right here, connects directly to people's wallets, to their daily lives. You had people online demanding relief, saying, look, it's simple. Just lower the price of fuel and gas, and the price of everything else will come down. Now that is a frustration that unites Sri Lankans, no matter where they live or what language they speak.
All right, so this brings us to the final, and maybe the most important layer of this whole story, the simple realization that after a year in power, the public's patience is starting to get seriously thin.
This timeline really tells the whole story.
A year ago, back in January 2025, there was this guarded hope. People were willing to give the new president a grace period. But fast forward to now, January 2026, and that patience has almost completely evaporated. The analysis says it's now bordering on structural disillusionment, which is a fancy way of saying people are losing faith in the entire system. So the bottom line is this: the grace period is over. President AKD's whole brand was built on him being a different kind of politician, a real change from the old guard. But if he doesn't deliver tangible results on these key issues, that entire narrative is at risk of falling apart.
And this quote just says it all. Next time, this film won't run. People appreciated the performance once, but now they're demanding policy, not photo ops. It turns out the goodwill you get from symbolic visits has a very, very short shelf life. And that leaves us with this final, really challenging question. The analysis shows that a lot of people still see the president as a good man. But can a good man be considered a good leader if these powerful symbolic gestures of unity don't actually translate into real substantive policy? That's the question now hanging over all of Sri Lankan politics.